Hello class, Bryce Parks here. So in this video, we're going to be looking at how to use some of the basics of the AutoCAD web app feature. So I've logged into the autodesk.com, and if you can see up here at the top of the screen, it says web.autocad.com/acad/me. So this is the link. When you get logged into your AutoCAD web app, you want to go ahead and bookmark this, and you can click the little star to bookmark that tab. But this is going to be kind of the command center or the place where your AutoCAD web app will default to. So for this first drawing, we're going to be looking at just some of the basics here. And so once you log into the AutoCAD web app, you're going to simply click on New Drawing. Once it pops up this dialog box, you need to make sure every one of your files has your first and last name at the very beginning. So since my name is Bryce Parks, I'm going to put that first. I'm going to put a dash, and then I'm going to put the drawing name. So this first one is a house, so I'm just going to simply type in house. And you can give it a name as you see fit. If there's a name that's already listed on the drawing that you're supposed to do, use that. So if it said cutter blade or if it said sprocket or something like that, you would want to use that name so that you know which assignment was which. If you want to give it a number, so if this is drawing number 1, I could put house-1 or something. If I knew that this was assignment number 7, I could put assignment 7 on here. But you need to make sure you have your first and last name first so that I know whose file it is as I'm grading these. You want to change your drawing units. A lot of times it'll default to metric, so make sure you switch over to imperial. The imperial system is feet and inches. So I have my drawing name and I have the unit set, and so I'm going to click open. Now in this process, as it's setting this up, in my case, it popped right up. A lot of times if you have slower internet, that might take a little bit to work through. So it's not uncommon to see a little error message there that says, hey, if this is a large file, you might want to wait, or if you have slow internet connection, you might want to wait. Periodically, you'll have to hit retry if you're having a problem with it loading. So just a heads up there, that is a common issue. The reason that that's an issue is it's trying to load all of the command center here, and that takes a little bit of internet speed. And so if you have slower internet, like whenever I use my internet out in the country, I have really slow internet for my home internet system. And so sometimes it'll give me that error message. If I go over to my Wi-Fi hotspot from my cell phone, the internet is much quicker there and it generally does not lag nearly as much. So just kind of a FYI there. All right, so for this first drawing assignment, you're going to be drawing a house. And for this house, we're going to be using some basic commands. So I'm going to draw your attention here to some of these different aspects here. So right now, up here in the upper left corner, you see views, properties, layers, blocks. We'll get into all this stuff later. You don't have to do anything right there. Your screen should be black. Your drawing screen here on your screen should be black. Should have that grid there, and that's a typical default setting. Right down here in the lower left corner, you see the draw. Click on annotate. These are annotate commands, and the modify commands right here. You can ignore this little toolbar I have down here. This is for the video system that I'm using to record this Screencastify video. So I'm going to go over here to my draw commands, and I'm going to start out with a rectangle. And I'm just going to click this rectangle. Now on my screen, it says right here in the middle, this is where you can type in commands. It says rectangle, specify first corner of rectangle. So it's telling you what you need to do with this command. So I'm just going to click here on my screen somewhere. Now notice that on my screen, if you can see as I move my cursor, it gives me this what's called dynamic input. It allows me to type in the size. If I want a special size of this box, so let's say that I want this box at, I don't know, 5 feet wide and I want it 10 feet tall. By the way, to switch between one text box to the other, I have to hit the tab. So if I hit 10 tall, so notice here it locks that in. Okay, now I can change that. So let's say, oh, I don't want it 5 feet, I want 6. So I hit 6. And if I want to toggle over to the other input box where the 10 is, I hit tab on my keyboard. And now I can type in the other size. So let's say that I want that 12. So once I have those sizes set up, I can hit enter. Now for this first drawing, you won't need to worry about exact sizes. You can just draw it and you can eyeball it. In later assignments, since this is an engineering focused class and we're doing engineering type drawings, you will have to put in exact dimensions. So exact lengths, exact angles, so forth. But for this first one, you just simply can click on the box and you can just simply drag it and make it whatever size box you want. Okay, so notice here a couple of features as I scroll in and out on my scroll mouse. It zooms in and out. If I click and hold, it gives me the little hand to pan. So this is the pan. If you get lost and don't know where everything is, so let's say you zoom out really far and you don't know where everything is, if you come right up here to the top middle window, there's a little blue X looking thing with the magnifying glass. It says zoom extents. That means it's going to zoom back to everything you have in your drawing. So I hit on zoom extents and bam, there it is. Now I will tell you, if you ever have some little thing right over here, let's say, and you hit zoom extents, it will magnify that out to include everything you have. Well, with something small like that, it's not that big of a deal. But if you have like one little bitty dot up here, okay, so if you can see that little bitty dot right up there, if you hit zoom extents, it might be zoomed way out. That tells you you have something outlying, okay? So in this particular case, I'm going to erase this little bitty piece, and I'll walk through these commands with you here in just a minute. But once again, if you get zoomed out, click on zoom extents, and that'll zoom you right in there. If you need to focus on one spot, you can go to your zoom window and just click on that, and you can window around the item you want to zoom in on. Okay, so that's kind of how to navigate here in the drawing cube. Once again, your scroll mouse scrolling in and out, click and hold your mouse wheel and it pans over, and you can use your zoom extents and zoom window. All right, so we've looked at the rectangle command. Now, if you simply scroll over here, we're going to be using a circle. So let's say that I want to put a circle, oh, I don't know, here on my house for some reason. I don't know why I would have a circle here. And I want to put another circle over here. Obviously, it's something goofy, but I'm just drawing this here. Okay, this other command, so we've talked about the rectangle and the circle. I'm going to skip right now for arc and a spline and the X line. I'm going to focus on this next one here, which is just a line with a dot at each end, and if you hover your mouse over it, it'll say line. This is for drawing your single lines. So if you want to draw some single lines like this, you're just simply dragging them on. Okay. If you are in a command like the line command and you want to get out, you have to hit escape on your keyboard. So if you just hit escape, it gets you right back out. If you want to go back into it, just click on line again. Okay, now notice whenever I hover my mouse over, it's telling me right here on the screen, line, specify the first point. Okay, so right here, I'm going to drag my mouse over, and it shows me that little X there, shows me where the line's going to start. And so I'm going to simply walk over and draw that. Okay, once again, if you need to get out of a command, you're stuck in a command, you just hit escape. Escape is a good rule of thumb that if you get stuck in any commands that it's not functioning right or you're confused about what to do, just hit escape a couple times and that'll clear that out. So those are some of the basic draw commands, the rectangle, the circle, and the line that we're going to focus on in this video. The annotate will deal with dimensions and text and drawing distance or measuring. We'll do that in future videos. We want to look at the Modify tab though. So the Modify tab is where we start getting into some features in AutoCAD that are really handy. So if you look at them, all you have to do is hover your mouse over each one and it tells you what it does. Okay, so if you walk through here, there's the move, there's rotate, there's stretch, there's scale, there's mirror, and so on. So I want to come over here to this pencil end and I want to use my erase command. So I'm going to select my erase command. Now, notice once again, it tells me on the screen, erase. That's the command, and then it says select the objects. So let's say I don't want these circles here. I want to erase this one, and I want to erase this one. Now notice here, that once you select it, you need to hit enter on your keyboard and it erases that. Okay, so once again, I'm going to select on this and I'm going to erase that. Well, uh, let's say that I did not mean to erase those. Okay, if you come up here to your undo command, you can click on undo and it will undo the last command that you did. Once again, if you're still in a command, you might have to hit escape a couple times to get out. Okay. Another way that you can erase objects is you can do a back window, which is a click and drag, and you see this little green box with the dashed line. That's going to select everything it touches. If you go the other way, it's going to be a blue solid one. That means it's not going to select everything it touches. It's going to select everything that's inside of it. So right there, it would select this large rectangle and this line because those were completely inside of it. Let me hit escape to clear that out. If I go backwards, it's going to select everything that that box is touching. So right now, if I were to let go, it's going to select the two circles and that rectangle because that green box was touching those. So if I click and drag backwards here, and let's say I want to erase those, I can also select those and hit erase, and then bam, it erases those. So that is the erase command. Now we're going to look at these other commands later on, but certainly your erase command you're going to want to use for this first one. So let me go back to drawing, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a house roof. Okay. Once again, I'm in the command. I hit escape to get out of it. Let's say that I want to draw a line and I want to snap it somewhere here in the middle. So notice whenever I go to click on this, whenever it says here on the screen, specify the first point, notice that little green box right there at the end of the line that I'm touching, and it says end point. That's going to snap me to the end. So if I click that, notice my line starts out from the end point. Well, let's say I want to draw a chimney and I don't want it from that end point. The way you have to turn that on and off is if you go down here to the bottom where it says O snap. So let me hit escape and get out of that. And let me turn off my O snap for just a moment. So I click it and it toggles it off. Now whenever I go back in here and do my line command and I come over here, notice I click my line. It doesn't jump me to the end point now. It jumps me, or it puts the start of it right wherever I clicked on the screen. So I've now drawn that line, and now let's say that I want to go up, but let's say I want it to be a perfectly straight line and I can't really get it straight. So we've talked about the O snap. If you turn on the ortho, so ortho means orthographic projection, and that means a straight line straight up, or if I turn that off, that means it's a diagonal line that can go at any angle. So let's say that for this one I want it to be a straight line, so I want to go straight up, I want to go straight over, and I want to go straight down right there. And now I'm done, so I hit escape and get out. Notice this little line sticking over. For this first drawing, you're just eyeballing it. You don't need to worry about that. That's fine. Later on, I'll show you how to use the trim command under your modify tab and how to remove that piece. But for now, this is just fine. So once again, if you go back into the line command and you start drawing and it's locked in, only going vertical and horizontal, you want to turn that off. You come back here and you go to ortho and you click that. Okay, and now it is perfectly fine. So here after a couple of drawings, we're going to have some quizzes on these commands. So you'll need to know how to work with these commands. You'll need to know what these command buttons mean as I cover them in the lecture videos. So the rectangle, the circle, the line, on the modify tab, the erase. We talked about down here the O snap and the ortho. So you'll need to know what these things mean. And as you use them, you'll get more and more familiar with them. So that is the basics of how to draw your house. Of course, on yours, you're going to have a door and some windows. You're going to have a tree. You're going to have a sun that you draw up in the sky. And so I'm going to let you do all that stuff. So the next couple things that we're going to talk about is how to save it and how to share it. So if I go in here and I could click on save, or I can click on the drop down menu and go save as. Since you've already named this drawing, clicking save would be just fine, and it will save your work. So I click on save, and now it has saved my drawing, and it tells me right down here that it's saved. Whenever I'm ready to go share, I can just simply click on share. And in this particular case, it's going to allow me to share a link. Okay, so this is going to be a link that you're going to upload into the Google Classroom. And so you would just simply click on the edit and save a copy. And the reason for that is I've not messed with this program as much or that much on the web app. I have in the classroom, but not on the web app. So I'm not sure if the view only will let me view it and measure it, or if it's just going to lock it out where I can view it only. So right now, go ahead and just click on the edit and share whenever you get to this point and just copy your link. And then whenever you go back in to submit the assignment, you can just paste that link and you should be good to go. All right, so let me click that out. This has been saved. Once again, you just click on save to do a quick save. When you get done with this drawing and after you click the share link, you're going to upload that link in your Google Classroom, and then I'll go in and I'll grade your drawing and I'll look at it. This first one is just a visual one. Nothing has to be drawn to scale. It does not need to be drawn exactly how I have it drawn on your handout. You do need to customize this and make it your own. So in semesters past, I've had people, put smiley faces on the sun or draw a squirrel in the trees or, draw a car out front or a garage or what have you. And so I want you to customize this first drawing and make it your own. When you get done with that and after you've shared it, you can click on this AutoCAD web and mobile, and this will take you back to your home page. You can see here, by the way, this is your drawing. If you ever have to go back in and modify it or update it, or you want to use, let's say, an old one where you want to change the drawing but keep the title block, you can do all that right here. And I'll talk about those in later on. So notice here on the background here, it's kind of shaded out. In my case, it loaded it fairly quickly. If you have slow internet, once again, it might tell you it's taken a long time. Just wait and be patient, or hit retry after a while if it's not doing what you need it to do. As always, please let me know if you have any questions. You're always welcome to email me or contact me. I'm here to help you. For this first drawing, we're just getting introduced to AutoCAD and some of the basic features that it has here in the AutoCAD web app. So please let me know if you have any questions.